you doing?
Good. Good, thanks.
Mark,
Hey.
you're running this meeting, right? All right.
The man with the handkerchief is.
Oh, that. All right.
You guys ready?
17.
Evening, Jennifer.
But
All right, council meeting Monday, the 23rd. No?
you think you're in charge?
Did you get some
Tamara
cues
says
or?
no. Stop.
Everybody quiet. Welcome to Monday, the 23rd of February, 2026, Town Council meeting. Welcome. We like to see such a big crowd for our meetings. It's a good thing. So thanks for being here. So the council come to order. Next item on the agenda is the approval and adjustments to the agenda. Are there any changes or need to be corrected, corrections that need to be made? All right, very good.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
So motion to approve the agenda. All in favor say
Aye.
Motion passes. Conflicts of interest. It's the duty of the mayor and every town council member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflicts. Does any member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before town council tonight? Members indicate no conflicts. Next thing is a very pleasant thing for me to have to do. I'd like to recognize Rodney Edwards. This is a proclamation. Whereas Rodney Edwards has operated Rodney's Auto Service on Main Street of Weaverville since September the 1st, 2004, and whereas from approximately 2005 to 2021, Rodney partnered with the Weaverville Police and hosted the Cops for Kids bike run to provide support for children and families within the Weaverville area. And whereas from approximately 2006 to 2022, Rodney organized and ran Rodney's Bike Night, where he hosted roughly 96 events that raised money for local charities and families in need in the Weaverville area. And whereas from approximately 2006 to 2010, Rodney organized and ran Rodney's Cruise In, where he hosted roughly 24 events that raised money for local charities and families in need in the Weaverville area. And whereas from approximately 2017 to 2024, Rodney partnered with the Weaverville's Lions Club to sponsor the Weaverville Car Show for 8 years prior to 2024. Whereas it is conservatively estimated that through these events and his personal contributions and generosity, Rodney has raised over $100,000 that was donated back into the Weaverville community. And in that way, through personal acts of kindness, he has helped countless families in need. And whereas Rodney has announced his well-deserved retirement from his successful auto business as of March the 1st, 2026, providing a fitting opportunity to celebrate him and acknowledge his charitable spirit, now therefore the town of Weaverville celebrates and honors Rodney Edwards for his valued friendship and generous contributions to the Weaverville community over the years, and asks the citizens and visitors of the town to join with us in wishing him all the best in his retirement. Signed and presented this 23rd day of February 2026, Gary D. Lawrence, Mayor.
think they've got something too, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, they've got something for you too, sir. This thing they're gonna do something too, sir. Okay.
My name is Stephen Hartzell. I'm co-owner of Blue Mountain Pizza, and I'm a member of the board of the Weaverville Business Association. And Rodney, it's been really good being your neighbor for the past 20 years. Thank you for all the free parking. But we're gonna miss you. Weaverville's losing a staple on Main Street, but it's been a long time and you deserve it.
Thank you.
We'd like to present you with that.
Don't go. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
all you've
Thank
done.
you.
Mr. Town Manager, can you take us through the consent agenda, please?
Yes, sir, Mayor, Council, your consent agenda on page 3 is your February 2nd, 2026 Town Council Special Call meeting minutes for approval. On page 9 is a monthly tax report, refunds and levies. 96.62% of the town's property taxes have been collected as of the end of January for a total of $4,688,410.40. On page 15, you have a budget amendment. The town's received insurance proceeds of $21,401.21 for lightning damage to security camera systems at Lake Breeze, and $1,962.20 for damage to noise barriers at the recreation complex. A portion of each quarterly distribution from the town received from the ABC store must be allocated to alcohol education and law enforcement activities. For the quarter ending on 12/31 of 25, the town received $2,415 for alcohol education and $1,725 for law enforcement. The town has received a donation from the public for $100 for the community center. And attached, you've got a budget amendment for those items. On page 17, you've got board appointments for the planning board and board of adjustments. The names recommended were Tom, thank you, appointment as a regular member of the planning board to serve an unexpired term ending in September 27. Mr. Fred Borth, appointment as an alternate member of the planning board to serve an unexpired term ending September 28. Brent Coning, appointment as an alternate member of the planning board to serve an unexpired term ending September 27. Paul DeCosta, appointment as a regular member of the Board of Adjustments to serve an unexpired term ending September 26. And Bryson Shook, appointment as an alternate member of the Board of Adjustments, serve a term ending in September of 28. On page 20, what we got next? Page 17. No, page 20, I'm sorry. My sticky notes all out of order here. So, you have a water commitment allocation letter. The council was asked to consider approving the renewal of water commitment for the Northridge Farm projects. The adoption of the following motion. Moving that forward, the town was granted a water commitment for the Northridge Farm project December 23, which subsequently renewed by a letter dated January 9th of 25, and that is attached in your packets. The developer is requesting renewal of their water request. The Public Works has looked at this. The available capacity and the timeline for this project continues to confirm that there is sufficient capability available in that project. Moving on to page 25, you have another water commitment, letter application renewal. Town granted a water commitment for an apartment complex project planned for 75 Cole Road in May of 2024, which subsequently renewed their letter dated January 9th of 25, and that letter is attached in your packet. The developers requesting renewal of their water request. The Public Works Director has looked at the availability, capacity, and the timeline for this project and continues to confirm that there's sufficient capacity for that project. So moving along to page 34, you have a road closure ordinance for a social district. The WPA is planned for a St. Patrick's Day event to be held on Sunday, March the 15th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. To accommodate their planned activities, they're requesting a road closure of a portion of Florida Avenue and a portion of Merchants Alley and a social district for this event. You've got an tap match where the event will be occurring at, asking that council approve the required road closure as well as the social district. In your consent, on page 50, we have a proposed amendment for restated MOU for our Tailgate market. Town council approved, asking that you approve the amendment and restated MOU, memorandum of understanding with our Tailgate market that extends the use of the community center on Wednesdays for calendar year 2026. Since November of 22, Town council has approved the MOU with the Weaverville Tailgate market concerning its use of the community center on their market days. The current MOU expired on December 31st of 25, and the Tailgate market has requested another year extension for calendar year 26. Mayor, council, that concludes your consent agenda. A motion to approve, please.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving along with your town manager's report. This past week, we held our community conversations session for this quarter on February 17th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers rooms. Had approximately 7 people attend that, so a lot of good feedback from that community engagement session. Some of the topics included budgeting, the fire department tax district, countywide fire tax, looking at insurance rating, the butterfly trail at the clock lot, water line replacement projects, proposed new zoning for R6 and R10 districts, and Duke Energy's update on Main Street and tree inventory from the Davy Group were some of the topics that we covered at that discussion. As you're aware, Duke Energy has started their work on Main Street on the 24th tomorrow, weather permitting. Their plan is to, and basically what they've been doing is working 9 to 2 to try to accommodate school traffic. They have plans tomorrow evening to shut down power between Merriman and Florida. They've met with the business owners there. They'll be doing that overnight and evening. So they'll be doing some work in that and coming back from, starting back at 4 o'clock after school traffic. So they'll be 9 to 2, taking a break, and then starting back at 4 o'clock to work on some poles there. But power interruption will be 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. In that area. So our insurance inspection office was here on site last week at the fire department conducting a rating inspection. It'll be approximately 2 to 3 weeks before we get that updated information on how that rating went. We're currently a class 2 for our insurance rating. The countywide fire tax district, we've been briefing you on that. The next meeting is on February the 26th. That meeting will be a public meeting taking place to discuss the single-wide fire tax district and how it will impact, and that's going to be a public input session. The county is doing that out in the Skyland area. So our rims on the I-26 bridge replacement project, weather is hampering that. However, in March, the contractor stated there should be a stage 2 of the bridge deck pours. This work is highly weather sensitive and may change. And hopefully that the weather delays will help them in the April-May timeframe. They should be able to complete the slabs with the remainder of the grade required to connect stage 2. As they move to stage 3 of the project, it will consist of completing the bridge, the roadway to its full plan footprint and template, and another traffic shift at that time. Their best thinking is that they'll be able to complete the project in March of 2027. For our lead and copper rule compliance, there's been several discussions over the past couple of years on that, published in December 16th of 21, along with the EPA requires that all public water systems develop an inventory on all in-service connections, both system-owned and customer-owned. So we've been in the process of conducting that inventory for review of copper and lead services. The town has entered into an agreement with 120 Water on this project, and they're expected to perform the work to determine if lead or copper is present in approximately 600 lines within our water system. There's no financial obligation for the project, but Public Works staff will be supporting these efforts. Citizens Academy is well underway. Our next session will be on March the 5th at 6 p.m. at the Community Center. Topics for that evening will cover recreation and opportunities for community engagement, including participation of the town's various boards. Stormwater discharge training, illicit discharge training. Dr. Mary Roderick from Land of Sky conducted training last week with our Public Works staff and for stormwater entering municipal systems such as paint, oil, and sewage and drain spills, so for our permitting process on that. The water treatment plant project update. I know we have a lot of discussion about water allocation, so kind of give you an update on where we're at on that. For the expansion product, the town is still waiting on state permits to be issued that were originally submitted in November of '24. All the comments have been received and been responded to, so we're hoping to get permits within the next couple of months. Once the permits are in hand, we'll be ready for the project to go out for bid with hope of being under contract this summer. Withers Ravenel has estimated that the construction time on the expansion is 12 to 18 months, so we're hoping for completion by the end of '27. Once that expansion is completed, we will be able to rehabilitate some of the original components on the plant, including some basins, and that work, it will take about approximately 6 months on that. We anticipate all work being completed and the town's water capacity being fully expanded to 3 million gallons per day by the end of '28. Some of your upcoming events: on March the 2nd, the planning board meeting. March the 4th is a tree board meeting. They'll have the tree assessment report presentation that night. And on March the 9th is your next town council regular workshop, talking about budget. On March the 23rd is your town council regular meeting. And on April 3rd, Friday is Good Friday. Town offices will be closed. That concludes your manager's report, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, we reached that point of our discussion where it's time for general public comments. So if you filled out your name on the form, we've got a couple here. So Town Council appreciates the opportunity to hear from its residents, and a part of each of its regular meetings is reserved for that purpose. The rules for the Town Council that the Town Council has adopted for public comments will apply. Copies are available on the website and in the meeting room. General public comments may be submitted during the meeting or in writing in advance on any meeting topic or any other interest. We ask that you please identify yourself when you come to the podium. So, Darla, you're first on the list.
Good evening, Darla Laterno, resident 16 Lakeshore Drive. I want to speak on the agenda item related to the budget process this year. As you know, the annual budget process is one of the most essential tasks that the town council does, and it really embodies the town's priorities for the coming year. Over the past year, Town Manager Harris has made community engagement a priority and has taken steps to provide more opportunities for early public input on town plans such as the comp plan and the strategic plan. He also instituted the quarterly community conversations with citizens. This new focus on community engagement is commendable. In October, the Town Council adopted a 5-year strategic plan which included a new goal: community engagement and communications. The aim of this goal is to increase community engagement through public outreach and better communication. It also included an objective to boost community engagement through town council meeting access and participation. Consistent with this strategic goal, I would like to suggest that this year's budget process provide more and earlier opportunities for citizen engagement in the budget development. Given the challenges facing our town in the post-Helene recovery era and the accelerating population growth, I think it's important for citizens to understand the town resources needed to meet these challenges. Today's agenda package includes the schedule of your workshops and meetings prior to the adoption of the budget on June 30th. In the past, the only opportunity for citizens to comment on the budget was the statutorily required public hearing at the very end of the process, the day you actually, in most cases, adopted the budget. which is after consensus had already been reached, and it's no opportunity for really meaningful input to the budget. I know that budget workshop, or workshops in general, you are not required to have public comment, but you have the discretion to have public comment, and I encourage you to provide some opportunity for input, comments at each workshop. It could be after your discussion, just some opportunity for people who are there to comment. In addition, the schedule calls for the town manager to present the proposed budget to council at your second workshop on April the 13th. I would suggest that the town manager also present this proposed budget in a briefing for citizens in some public forum. Maybe it could be a special community conversation meeting. I'm really hopeful that this year's budget process will enhance the opportunities for meaningful citizen engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ellen Shepherd.
I'm Alan Shepherd at Alabama and Central Avenue corner over here. Just wanted to address the potential new district zoning. Personally, there's a lot of it that I don't have a problem with. The one context I've got a problem with is somewhere down in your verbiage, and I'm pretty good at your real estate dealings, but it says higher density standards and future annexations currently undeveloped parcels. Where is this going to overlay in R1, R2? If we open this keg of worms, where are you actually going to overlay these districts? Because at some point, from the conversation I've had with you, you are going to be overlaying. So are you making decisions now what you're going to overlay? Are you going to overlay R2, R3? Or is this only for new development? And I don't think that's exactly what this is being deemed as. It says for high density, and high density. And I've been here in this town long enough that so many developments that we've seen done in this town that a few years people go, what in the did they do? This is what I get to look at. And nobody wants to look at whatever that is, but we've all been there, I'm sure. So my thing is, and I'm not going to stay tonight because I got to have surgery and I can't stand on my feet or I can't sit very long. So either way, I'm done for a while anyway. But I just want, there's going to be a clear guidance as to where these zoning districts are going to be overlaid. Because I've not personally got a clear answer where they're going to be overlaid. And I can't imagine in what I'm upset about, not upset, but I've seen it happen in other towns I've developed property in. You've got some neighbors of mine that are older. They've got a lot that's big enough that they could cut this out and you form another lot. I moved back to Weaverville 30-some years ago. My family grew up here. And what I don't want to see is a West Asheville. And I have nothing against West Asheville, got a lot of friends in West Asheville, but I don't want to see three-story walk-ups sitting next to homes that people have put their life into. Because that's not what they bought into. So we talk about higher density is going to create more tax base, but the other side of it is you devalue the home sitting next to it. This may be a $3,000 home, and you're going to try to shove in a lower priced home. I understand why you're doing it. But to the side of it, you have to protect the citizens who've been paying taxes here for years. And that's what I have to say, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be here to listen to what you're going to say tonight, but if you put it on the website, I'll be happy to read it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Alan.
you. Okay, we're on to our discussion and action items, and I'd like
Mayor,
to.
there is one item, the email came in this morning regarding 75 Cole Road. A citizen is concerned about that development, mainly traffic ingress and egress, and wants the town to participate and try to facilitate a new traffic impact study, environmental analysis, and watershed analysis.
Thank you. Judy Craig?
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Judy said she couldn't be here tonight, so you've got your handout in the packets and that, so. So she will speak at another meeting.
Assistant Town Manager Jackson?
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to really take an opportunity to introduce you to Ruth Gonzalez and Phyllis Stiles, both of whom are here tonight to brief you a little bit on the Asheville Butterfly Trail and Weaverville's installation of that. I know it's gotten a lot of conversation lately on folks wondering what's going to go in the area that's kind of a construction zone right now. And it's a much larger area that is in the orange tape than the actual butterfly installation is gonna take up. But I did want to introduce you to them. You do have some information that I put at your desk, but they do have a short presentation that they wanted to give you.
Hi y'all, thanks for having us, and is it possible to bring, thank you. So we're with the Asheville Butterfly Trail, which is part of Bee City USA Asheville, and do I advance that? Okay, so we just want to tell you a little bit about where the idea came from. There's another butterfly trail in Ohio, the Hocking Hills Butterfly Trail, and when we saw that, we thought, oh, this would be a beautiful project in Asheville. So the Asheville Butterfly Trail is a project of Bee City USA Asheville. Our intention is to have 10 to 15 butterfly stations around Buncombe County. Each station will have a human-sized butterfly and educational signage along with it, as well as a website that is connected with a QR code with lots of information about that particular butterfly and pollinator conservation. Right now, we have 4 stations that are already installed. Weaverville station is going to be the 5th one. We're super excited about that. And we have 2 that are currently in the works in Black Mountain. We're working on the funding for that. Why are we doing this? We're trying to engage locals, we're trying to engage school children, tourists, in a fun and delightful way to get them interested in conservation, particularly pollinator conservation. And because these butterfly wings are also kind of like a piece of art, they're going to be, they're perfect for a selfie. And so we invite everyone to take a selfie and, hopefully spread the word and get our project, our mission of our project, which is pollinator conservation, underway via that. So along with the butterfly wings, there'll be some educational signage. Phyllis did bring a copy of the educational signage for Weaverville. It's at the very back, and maybe she can hold it up. So each of our stations has one of these educational signs. So right at the site, the person who's visiting can find out more about the butterfly, the life cycle, where it is distributed, and then fun facts about it, and also who are the sponsors. And a QR code that takes them to the website for more. So our very first station is the Eastern Tiger Swallowtail. It's located at the Asheville Chamber of Commerce, the Visitor Center in Montford, and it was dedicated in August of 2024. Then that's an example of their educational signage. And we're just kind of speeding through this, y'all, because I know we don't have much time. This is,
We got nowhere else to be.
okay. This is the dedication of that particular butterfly. And then if you go ahead, we'll show you the next station. The next station is located right here in Weaverville at Reams Creek Nursery. That's the Gulf Fritillary. And it was dedicated in September, just a couple weeks, not even before Helene hit. So beautiful butterfly. We invite all of you to visit it. Manager Harris was at that dedication, as well as the police chief, and maybe some other people that are here. Okay, and this is the educational signage for the Reams Creek's butterfly, the Gulf Fritillary. And one thing I didn't say is each of these butterflies is native to western North Carolina. And along with the butterfly, there's also the host plant that is going to also be western North Carolina native. The third station is located on W.T. Weaver Boulevard. It's on the Greenway right near UNCA, just by Barnard and W.T. Weaver. That is the Common Buckeye. And this station is a little unique in that the Glass Foundation is one of the sponsors, and the Susan Wodak and Liz Lassane both sponsored in honor of their parents. So that station was dedicated last year. There's the educational signage for the Common Buckeye. And this is the fourth station, which is located at the Audubon Bird Sanctuary, just right near Beaver Lake. And that is a beautiful summer azure butterfly. And the Carmodes are the donors of that particular butterfly, and it was dedicated last September. So, and that's the signage that goes along with that. Trying to make the connection between caterpillars and birds. If there's any bird watchers in here, birds eat a lot of caterpillars. So, this is going to be the beautiful Weaverville butterfly. It's called the red-spotted purple. And actually, when we were talking with Jennifer Jackson and with the town of Weaverville about what butterfly to choose, that actual butterfly landed right in front of us on a bush. We couldn't believe it because I don't think any of us had ever seen that butterfly before. So, but it is native to western North Carolina. And another nice thing about the butterfly and the proximity to the Clock parking lot is that Weaverville is fortunate to have that beautiful nature park bordering Main Street full of native plants, which just goes right along with our mission of promoting native plants that help promote native pollinators. And we're hoping to dedicate the red-spotted purple, which is the name of this butterfly, on Earth Day. We haven't nailed that down yet, so that would be April 22nd. This is the red-spotted purple's educational signage that Phyllis just brought up. And so, yeah, let's see. Okay, so the thing that y'all all have in front of you that Jennifer gave you, that is one of our online resources. That's called the Passport. So as this trail is completed with 10 to 15 stations, there'll be kind of like a checkpoint where you can visit each station and just check it off, or say if you're, you could take school children on a relatively short one, just maybe Weaverville and North Asheville. Okay. This is a coloring book, also downloadable. Each butterfly will have its own coloring page. And soon we will have a trail map. We need to get a few more of our stations up and running before we get the trail map. So we just want to say special thank you to the town of Weaverville and for all the support and for hosting the butterfly and partially sponsoring the butterfly. The other sponsor is Judy Futch and the Futch Foundation, honoring one of her parents. And also, we'd also like to thank community members that have helped us along the way, the talks with the Weaverville Garden Club and various people in the WVA and other community members that have provided their input for us. So just wondering if y'all have any questions or concerns.
I think we're good.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to seeing it installed. Thank you. Planning Director Miller?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here this evening to speak to you regarding the new R6 and R10 residential districts. These have been proposed by a combination of your staff and the Planning Board. The Planning Board has offered a positive recommendation on both of those items. The public hearing on this was held on the night of December 9th. So procedurally speaking, we've done everything we can up to this point. If Town Council wishes to act on this item this evening, there is a proposed motion included on the cover sheet for this agenda item. I know this was discussed heavily at the recent joint meeting with the Planning Board as well. At this point, I'll just stop talking unless anyone has any questions I may answer, but one thing does come to mind before I leave the mic, at least initially. This is a zoning text amendment. This action tonight, should you wish to take it, will only create the language of the zoning district. There was a question asked during the public comment about where these districts would be applicable. The answer is wherever you choose to use them. But what I can tell you is those will have to come to you in the form of a zoning map amendment, not the text amendment that you have this evening. And those will also have to go to the Planning Board for review and recommendation, and then ultimately onward to Town Council for your review and vote. Happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
So, Mr. Eller, does your last statement address Mr. Shepherd's concern about overlay?
When the town is presented with a zoning map amendment for either of these districts, if they are created, they will be subject to additional public hearings. So yes, if there is a sense in the community that a certain district should be there but not here, they will have the opportunity to make their feelings about that situation known.
So the framing around this really is actually the development of options, but not necessarily, a directive by council toward any individual developer or development, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So this is a traditional zoning district. It's not proposed as an overlay. And therefore, you're going to have, for instance, a new piece of property. For instance, maybe you're wishing to annex a piece of property. This is a district that could be chosen, just like R1, R2, R3, R12. This adds an R6 and an R10. It doesn't get overlaid or imposed to any property that is currently zoned. That would happen that could only happen as a zoning, a map amendment, a change to an existing district.
And just to be clear, the option then that comes before council basically would be elected or rejected by council, correct?
Yes. Through the whole process. It goes to the Planning Board for review, it gets a full public hearing, and then ultimately comes back to you as a map question.
Okay.
Yep. What's
Thank
tonight
you.
is just setting up the text or the tool. Whether it is ever used is completely up to Town Council.
Understood. Thank you.
So it's my understanding that this is a tool that has been suggested by the Planning Board. But my question is, I guess it's for Mr. Frue, if we have a tool in the box, does it make it more difficult for the council to say no if a developer comes and wants to take a piece of property up Rings Creek, for example, and they want to use this R10 with these 6 feet setbacks? Does it make it more difficult for the council to reject that proposal?
That's sort of a chicken and egg question, and I'm not really sure how to answer it. I don't know that it makes it more difficult. It depends on the nature of the plan. It depends how obvious that might be the proper route. And then it would depend on where it's located. So I guess it's a two-edged sword.
Because I'm just concerned that, and I understand the need to try to streamline some of the processes with the planning department. I understand that there is many conditional zonings that come before Mr. Eller and his department, And I understand the need to try to streamline some of these things for workload purposes, and I get that. But I also don't want to eliminate our ability to have conditional zoning, because with that conditional zoning, we have more ability to negotiate. And it just concerns me that when we set these things in motion with these types of zonings, that it eliminates some say-so that the council may have on some of these things.
Can I rephrase a little bit? Probably, again, back to you. So I think we all understand annexation new, so we'll pick an empty lot or subdivision that's already in the town. So we got an empty lot that's in R1 and somebody wants to change the zoning. So they've got a couple choices right now. Again, they can just ask us to go to R12. That's totally within their right, am I correct? So somebody can say, I want to go to R12.
Yes.
And we have this outline of what we think the town should be, and we have a plan, and then the state makes us do that. We go, I don't know that R12 fits in a traditional R1, but we could say yes.
The first thing that pops to mind, there could be some spot zoning concerns.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that would be in play.
Right, so the spot zoning, explain spot zoning to us, if you could. Anybody,
Yeah,
other than me.
just very, very generally, this piece of paper is R1, and they want it to be rezoned R6 or 10. If this is all surrounded by other R1s, that could be a spot zone. But then it depends on how big this lot is too, because that could sort of dilute the analysis of whether or not it's a spot zone. It's not as easy as a yes or no.
And I hear what Jennifer's saying, and I do have concerns that with precedent, so my brain is following the water because I totally was against what we did with the water, so my brain is down that path of, you know, if it's in the toolbox, have we somehow limited ourselves to say no? If we don't like it, if in a perfect world, it's probably against state law, if everything was conditional zoning, I think we'd all be happier, that we could just say, we don't like your project, go away. And then, you know, we'd probably be sued right and left for, you know, being picky, or I don't know, but my brain just gets back to what happened above Lake Louise with Greg Phillips's project. It checked all the boxes, and then, oh my God, we all hated it, and that was my first year on council. And then, you know, Doug Jackson was yelling at Jennifer, there's nothing we can do, there's nothing we can do. And you're like, there's nothing we can do on that project. And then we maybe swung the pendulum. We said, yeah, there are things we can do. Because nobody in town except for Greg Phillips liked that project. And then we kind of were like, well, we have to approve it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any of us want to get into a point where we have to approve something. So I'm just trying to work through what Jennifer was saying. I personally am in favor of higher density. Whether it fits in a historical neighborhood, I don't think we have a historical neighborhood. We have maybe, you know, I was looking at it and I couldn't get the GIS to work. You know, we got duplexes off of College Crescent, and we've got, I think, apartments on Grove Street. I think we are a very diverse town. It isn't, no offense to anybody who lives in the golf course, it's not the golf course. So if you live in the golf course, you choose that. But if the two ladies in the golf course wanted to tear their golf course down and go to R12 and we passed it, you'd have a bunch of people mad, go, that's not what I bought. So I'm definitely in favor of higher zoning, even in my neighborhood. I want higher zoning in my neighborhood, but James won't let me have it.
Andrew, in referencing the development that you stated earlier, what was the surrounding citizen feedback? Do you recall?
Oh, yeah.
It used to be a pasture.
It was a pasture,
Well, it was mobile homes at one point.
right?
The one we're talking about up on the hill, on the way to Quarry
But-
Road. But the feedback,
Yeah.
well, the feedback didn't come until it got to the Board of Adjustments, is the problem. And then, and Jennifer, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but by the time it got to the Board of Adjustments, because they checked all the boxes, I don't even know that it got in front of council at the beginning. And that's what I think I'm hearing Jennifer say, that being careful with these auto check boxes.
That's exactly.
I don't believe that project ever got in front of council, and it went right.
It did not. That was the last special use permit issued by the town, at which point we collectively decided no more of that, transitioned all of our special use permits to conditional zoning. So that checklist where a developer would, in that scenario, be entitled to certain approvals would not exist in this circumstance.
But back to Michael's spot zoning example, you know, I have this image of all of the neighbors who are R1, basically coming to council base and, you know, expressing
Their displeasure.
Yeah, their displeasure.
They did. I mean, it was too late, and fortunately Greg's, I think he negotiated, and he went from gonna build 376, you know, to 31 to 17 or 14, thank you. Yeah, it went down. It kept going down, and they were, I think they heard a lot. He wanted to be, to some extent, a good neighbor. I don't think he had to, but that was the longest ZBA meeting in the history of the town of Weaverville, I think, or the Board of Adjustment.
Well, when I look at different projects that's been built in town that have these close proximities to each other, being safety-minded I am, and you can call me Safety Jennifer if you want to, I am concerned about the fire risk of these properties when they're put so close together. I know I've talked to Mr. Davis at the fire department. I've talked to some of the firefighters about how would you fight this fire. And it went back to, if you have these houses that are basically as far apart as from here, almost to the end of the table over there, but that's a little bit more than 12 feet. So that's what we're talking about here. That's how close they're proposing these houses to be. And when one house catches on fire and it's fully engulfed, and Mr. Briscoe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the radiant heat from this house that's on fire can catch the second house on fire in 1 minute and 50 seconds. It doesn't take long. And so sometimes the fire departments will not focus on the house that's burning nor the house beside it, but maybe 2 or 3 houses down the road trying to save them. This type of situation happened in Spalding County, Georgia, and those homes were brick. But when we're talking about affordability, and that's some of the impetus of trying to have this type of zoning is affordability, when we have to start looking at fire-resistant materials, and that affordability clause goes out the window. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around why is it that this particular tool is so important for this town when it does create a risk to the citizens that are going to be living in these homes. Also, it diminishes the character that we have all come to know and love in this town. We love this town, we like our homes, we like our yards, and a lot of people come to this little Mayberry-ish type of town because that's what's here. And they don't choose to live in Asheville where it's higher density. They don't choose to go to West Asheville where it's house after house after house, just like Mr. Shepherd said, where you have this tiny little yard and this very, 2-story house that looks like a box on it, and that's what you get. So I'm not sure that it matches the character of what Weaverville has been, that we have all come to know and enjoy.
I'll just do a counterpoint there about you said why is this so important? When I did the assessment on these districts, I looked at both the historic precedent and the current precedent. And historically, Weaverville was platted with 50-foot frontage lot sizes. When Weaverville was first platted, that was the lot size. Many houses in town are at that 50-foot. I myself, it's a 75-foot, but you look at the old plot, my house is on 1.5 of those plots. But many houses in my neighborhood are at 50-foot. So there's a historic precedent there. And then the other reason why I think it could be useful is that we have numerous recent developments that fit these zoning districts almost to a T. So there's a historic precedent, but there's also the newer developments that have come in that have utilized conditional zoning districts to obtain these developments. And many, I mean, we tout as very, like, sort of the type of growth that we would like to see for the town. And so that gets at the why I think this could be an important tool or useful tool for the planning department. And then regarding the character, you know, there's numerous parts of town that have these sizes and style or areas of home. So I think it falls in line with the character of the community.
Well, one thing I've heard quite frequently from people that live in this town is everybody's concerned about the growth. The growth is coming at us like a freight train that we can't stop. And we have to be very deliberate and very mindful on how we steer this train.
Yeah.
And we have to make sure that we are being very considerate of not only the people that currently live here, but making a safe environment for the people that are going to live here. And so that's our responsibility. And I think that we have to take all of that into consideration when we make these decisions about this high density zoning. You know, I'm not against the high density so much as I am against the 6 foot setbacks. If we eliminated those 6 foot setbacks and kept it at 10, I could go along with this. But when you're cramming things so close together that I have a house here and a house at the end of the table, and the window here looks into the bedroom window there, and I can see and they can see everything that happens if I have my curtains open. And then, so I want to eliminate that factor, so I want to build a fence about where Mayor Lawrence is here, and then I've got a fence and I want to put shrubbery, and then how's the fire department going to get around this house to do anything? And so it just concerns me that the setbacks are the issue. I know that Buncombe County's in a housing crisis. I get that. I'm compassionate for those who need an affordable place to live, but just like Mr. Nagel has said many times, there's nothing affordable in Weaverville to live in. And once these homes are built, they're still not affordable. And, you know, those things are usually set by what the loan value ends up being on those homes, not by the size of the lot. So I'm just very, very concerned about introducing this as a standard thing that could be used in this town that really goes against the character that we've all known to love about our town.
I do have a question about downzoning and the state's elimination of that. So if we move on to the map amendments and we start assigning some of these, we can't go backwards, right?
Under current conditions, if you lessen the intensity of development on a piece of property, you cannot do it without the property owner's consent. In fairness to our friends in Raleigh, they didn't tell us that you can't do it. They just said you have to have everyone's permission to do it.
Sure.
So to clarify what John just asked, just so I understand it, because Alan said making higher density devalues his property. That's his opinion.
I can't answer that.
No, I know that, but so what you're saying, if you're going from what is the state considered? If you go from R1 to R3, is that downzoning?
No, that is the opposite.
Right. And if you go from R1 to industrial, it's still the opposite. Right? You go on the one path. It's a one-way street. R1 is the least valuable according to the state.
What it basically says is you can't take a piece of property that is currently zoned R2
and make it R1
and down zone it to R1 because you've lessened the development potential of that parcel without the property owner's consent.
Right.
Now, the secondary question would be if I owned a piece of property that was R10, but I only wanted to build one house on it, that is acceptable.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my current situation. I'm zoned R something, it ain't R1, when we got annexed.
R3.
R3.
James says.
Right? Did you give him the fingers?
Yes. I can count.
And I can only build one house, right? Without subdividing. which I'm against. That's a whole nother conversation, why on 20 acres I can only build one house without subdividing, and your quarter acre, you can build one house, but that's not what we're talking about, sorry.
Well, I certainly understand the need to continually update current zonings, add more zonings, change zoning. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more conversation around this before we charge forward, but I'm not opposed to density per se. I would just like it to be well planned and well thought out.
I agree.
Another thing about the R10 and R6 is if you look at our neighboring municipalities, essentially every other community has these types of single-family zonings. Woodfin, Black Mountain, Asheville, Buncombe County. It's not an uncommon thing.
Is there a scenario where maybe Weaverville is just slightly less dense than everybody around us?
Well, again, I go back to the historic nature of what Weaverville was originally platted on, and to say that we don't have 50-foot lots is just not true. So it's a common lot size within the town limits.
I used to live on one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll echo Councilmember Young's comments about the future. We have supported emphatically the onboarding of a major medical center coming to tiny Weaverville. We are facing urbanization or gentrification. You pick. What do you want? You know, if we overlay everything as R1, it becomes another Biltmore Forest.
Great quote.
Or if you cross the street, you know, you've got a lot of R10 and R12 buildings just across the street from that development. So I think to Jennifer's point, we really do have to think hard about, you know, in 5 or 10 years from now, when we stand up and look down on Weaverville, do we like what we see?
There's two guys who haven't talked yet.
I guess the question is there any action that you want to take on this now, or do you want to continue this discussion?
I'd love to hear yours and Councilman McGuire's opinions. I think we all should have an opinion, or not, I can't force you to talk. If either one of you have an opinion on the matter, other than Mark and Jennifer putting on the gloves.
It's my opinion that having this tool in the toolbox is not going to count against us in any way at the moment. I think it's just a tool to have. It does not automatically affect any existing zoning. It really would apply to additional identified development zones that we have identified in the past, especially with this hospital coming up. I think an R10 would be a very helpful tool to have up near the hospital for housing that might be going in up there. That is already an identified development zone. I think that just helps speed that along as we need it. So I think it could be useful. I don't think this is an affordability problem. Affordable housing that ship has sailed. We're not going to have this. That's got nothing to do with this. The safety issue that Ms. Young has brought up, you know, having safety regulations is of course important. We need to be very mindful of that. However, there's risk in everything. It's just a matter of what is an acceptable risk. You could say, okay, speeding down the road at 70 miles an hour is acceptable, but let's all be honest that if we, you know, there's more fatalities, the faster you go, the higher the speed limit is. So why don't we make interstates 45, 35, 25? We'll go back to horse-drawn carriages. I don't really see, with all due respect, that the risk of an R10 is going to be unacceptable in this way. Otherwise, they would have made building regulations more stringent. We heard the other day or 2 weeks ago when we were here, the fire marshal was telling us about, well, 6 feet. But that does, even at that distance, total of 12 feet between houses, that did not actually require the additional more fire retardant products. That needed to be 5 feet
That's right.
setback, not even 6 feet. So at some
And
point,
that increases the risk though.
well, of course it increases the risk, but what point is it unacceptable? Well, in this case, it's 5 feet. We're still on 6. At least so says the folks making the rules. We pay these folks to make rules. We pay these folks to look at the studies. Somebody along the way said 6 feet is fine. I tend to probably agree. I think it's fine. I think if you feel nervous about living in a situation where there's an increased fire risk because of that zoning, then don't buy there. Go somewhere else. So frankly, I think that passing a resolution, or passing this motion to create an R6 and an R10 really does nothing to hurt us at this point. I think it's an effective tool in the toolbox. I think that if we choose to use it in the future, we can do so. But I don't see it as an immediate harmful risk of overlaying. And as far as spot zoning, I mean, you can see that a mile away. If something's gonna get spot zoned, we're gonna know about it. And we know that's illegal and we can't do it. So, I'm okay with this. You
Yeah,
okay, Andrew?
Yeah, I guess,
Thank you for speaking.
I guess that I think that having the tool in the toolbox is certainly freeing and makes things a little bit easier to accommodate as they come available. And it's nice to have the flexibility. I think the concept of risk management is valid, but the last time I bought a house, I didn't ask them about setbacks and fire retardant. I was more interested in other things, right?
Or she was.
Anyway, that's where I stand on it. I think it's a good tool that we should have. And I think that it's up to the people that write the codes that includes setting the setbacks. That's their job. Any
As
further
far as-
discussion?
Yeah, I was gonna say, as further discussion, it felt like even this conversation repeated a lot of the themes that we had in the previous one. So I'm a bit at a loss as to what additional discussion would further do. So I'd be ready to make a motion.
No. Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the R6, R10 residential districts as written.
There's a motion on the floor. All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Let's say that the motion passes. Thank you very much for that. Councilmember Young, you're going to brief us on the status of the hospital?
I am. On a
Thank you.
happier note, I'm happy to report that the construction has been approved for Advent Health for building of a 67-bed hospital. Right now, they are doing site preparation. They have to do all the ground infrastructure, making sure they've got the sewer lines and the water lines and all the grading and all those components done before they can actually start raising the steel. This is a rendering of what the hospital is going to look like. You can expect the building to start going up. You should see something hopefully end of the summer, beginning of the fall. Right now, they're trying to procure the steel, and with all the tariff issues, that's been a little challenging for them, but that's where they are with that process. First, they're going to build a medical office building. It's going to be a 75,000 square foot, 3-story medical office building. It's going to house their primary care offices for their physicians, outpatient services, specialty physician practices such as surgeons and things of that nature. That will be on the second floor of that building. It's not in what you see here. It'll be off on the right-hand side. The third floor of that medical office building is just going to be just studded out. It's going to be a shell for future expansion. So as everything grows with the hospital system, there will be additional space for more physicians, et cetera, to be located in that building. The hospital, as you see here, is going to be a 6-story structure with a basement, so total of 7 if you include the basement. The first floor of that is going to house your emergency room and all of your imaging, such as CT, MRI, fluoro, mammography, all of those types of things. And they're also preparing for a cardiac cath lab that will be opening as the hospital opens. So that's also very important to having to get that going right off the bat. They are also planning for high acuity stroke and neurology care. So this is another step forward in the process of making this a tertiary center. If you don't know what a tertiary center is, that is the type of hospital that you don't have to go somewhere else to get complex care. Now, this hospital will not be doing things like open heart surgery. They will not be doing transplants and things of that nature. But their plan for this hospital goes beyond the 67 beds. They plan this to be a tertiary center so that with more complex things, you don't have to be transferred to our friends down the road. The second floor of this hospital is going to be our surgery suites. There will be 4 surgical suites initially, 31 pre- and post-op beds there, and interventional procedure rooms will be on that floor. The third floor will house your baby place. This will be your L&D, your C-section suite, your well baby nursery, and they have applied for a certificate of need for a 6-bed neonatal ICU. So there's not really a competition for that particular certificate of need. It's just that they want to make this an all-inclusive place for people to come if they do have a high-risk pregnancy, that they can manage taking care of a sicker baby there. Excuse me. The fourth floor will house your ICU progressive care units. The fifth floor will be your med-surg floor. That's just basic less acuity type patients there. The sixth floor of this building is also going to be shelled out in preparation for the additional 26 beds that have been applied for that were approved by DHHS but are now in litigation with HCA. When those things get in litigation, it takes about 2 years for that process to complete. Well, guess what? That's about the time this hospital is going to open. So hopefully the litigation will be finished in time for the shell to be completed in time for opening of the hospital. But right now the plan is for the sixth floor to be initially a shell, and then as that lawsuit gets kind of put away, then they can go ahead and finish that out. All the patient rooms are going to be large and have ample space for not just the patient, but for the family to also be with the patient at the bedside. There will be a full-service kitchen and a cafeteria that will also have some outdoor seating. There will be a multi-faith chapel and an outdoor reflection garden for folks to go and reflect and have any type of spiritual connections that they need while they're there. They're going to try to use as much natural light as possible, using natural products inside to blend in with the beautiful views they're going to have from that property. There's a beautiful mountain range in the distance that will be seen from that property. They're also going to be using a lot of sustainable materials. They're putting in EV stations for cars, looking at their stormwater bioretention system for runoff and all types of things. They're trying to make it very energy efficient. This hospital is not going to be just a hospital. This is going to be a hub with many spokes that go out into different communities with different physician practices and urgent cares scattered throughout the north end of western North Carolina, all the way into Graham County. So it's not just the hospital. Their goal is to keep people well and keep people out of the hospital. That is their goal. But then when the time comes that people do need to be hospitalized for advanced care, they'll be ready to take care of those needs for those patients. Advent also applied for 129 bed certificate of need. Mayor Lawrence and I spoke at the public hearing for that on December 16th. And I will say that the majority of people that spoke at that hearing were in support of Advent as opposed to the 3 other alternatives. The alternative hospitals applying for that need is going to be HCA Mission, of course, Novant Health, and Novant Health's hospital would be out at right beside Biltmore Park in South Asheville. And UNC Health wants the beds as well to build a hospital also in South Asheville on Overlook Road. So my statement to the DHHS lady who was there conducting this public hearing was the certificate of need is to adequately distribute equitably health care to people who need it. Well, there's 3 hospitals already in an 18-mile range out in South Asheville. So I tried to stress the point that Madison County and Yancey County has no hospital, and there's 1 urgent care in Yancey County and nothing in Madison County. And even the folks in North Buncombe area has to travel quite a distance to go to an urgent care jail hospital. There will be a big push for workforce development. I know that they're looking at the pipeline for that. They're going to be needing 1,200 to 1,300 employees as this hospital opens. They're working with high schools.
That's like to open it?
To open it, yes, sir.
1,200?
Yes, sir. So with that, they are working with the high schools for CNA programs. They're working with the community colleges and universities to train physical therapists and nurses and all the other ancillary staff that's going to go with this hospital's needs for staffing. They already have many physicians that have committed to come to this hospital.
And that includes from top to bottom, from like
janitors,
the cafeteria workers,
all
the way up to the seat or whoever the
Correct.
site.
Correct. They have not announced who that senior leadership team will be. That should be coming in probably 6 months to a year. They are having different steering committees. They've asked me to be on a steering committee to make sure that we are meeting Weaverville's needs for this hospital and looking at all of the infrastructure with police department and fire department and all these different things that affects the town as this hospital grows.
Do you think there's, I don't know, maybe via AB Tech or whatever, I mean, we're getting ready to lose 400 jobs. Now, I'm not saying a guy who can run a CNC machine is gonna go work at a hospital. But with Thermo Fisher leaving town,
there's a high potential for those people to get some education and transition to a healthcare related field. It wouldn't have to be a patient care field, that they will need people in finance and people in billing and people, in different disciplines that can be pulled from. So it takes a lot of different things. So they are diligently looking at the pipeline for the workforce development.
and you're meeting with the site manager at Thermo in the near future. I mean, it may be the 3, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but there's gotta be some synergy there, maybe, hope, cross our fingers to go. In the things finance maybe is still finance.
Correct. I've also been working with NC Works. They will be also helping with that. Land and Sky Regional Council is gonna be working with that. And, I think we've offered NC Works a site here to do a job fair for Thermo, but it's a little bit too soon for that to occur, but we are thinking along those lines as well.
Can I ask a silly question?
Sure.
Is our ladder truck tall enough to reach the 6th floor?
So, our fire chief is here. We do not have a ladder truck, nor do they make a ladder truck that will go up to the 6th floor.
Okay.
So it's too high of a risk to do that, but we have on order coming a ladder truck.
We had a ladder truck?
No, we do have a ladder truck now. We have ordered a second ladder truck.
No, ma'am.
So, we don't have a ladder truck?
Not on order, no, ma'am.
I thought we had talked about.
No, we've got 2 engines and a rescue on order.
Okay,
Did we
I thought
ever
there
own a
was
ladder truck in this town?
Yes.
There's one now.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's why the developer for the hotel said I couldn't come because we couldn't do the 3rd story because we didn't have a ladder truck. So I'm now really, we have a ladder truck?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We do have a ladder truck, thank you. But it's not,
A 2-story ladder truck.
or a 3-story,
It's 107 foot, I believe.
Okay, and it goes up to the third or fourth floor?
I mean, you gotta figure setbacks off of it as well.
Sure, I'm not a fireman. I just know I supported the ladder truck so we could get the motel.
The hospital has a helipad too, so they can, invite it for.
Is it gonna have a helipad on it?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's-
let me talk about this just a minute.
It's on the drawings.
Every hospital has a helipad, so let me start with that. If Advent Health were to be awarded this extra 129 beds that they have put in an application for, and they were awarded those beds, the number of beds of 200 or more beds would qualify them to start trauma center designation. Trauma center designation is a big, long process. You can't get it just because you have 200 beds. There's a lot of things that go into that, but it would give them the ability to do the trauma center application and become a trauma center for this region. Also, that does not mean that Advent Health Weaverville is going to have a helicopter service. What that will mean is that there is a patient that has an extensive injury that we can't take care of at Advent Weaverville, they can fly them to,
Somebody got
well,
that.
let's say a burn patient, for example. If we had a burn patient, they want to send them to a burn center. So it doesn't mean that they're going to put a helicopter stationed here, they just have a helipad there if the need arises that they need that type of transfer.
So to keep this in perspective, because I don't understand a lot of this, how many beds are at the current Mission Hospital?
About 850.
So they've got, they've been approved for 67?
Yes,
So it's less than 10%. How many are at Party Hospital?
I don't know the answer.
Okay, but that is it's, because I'm hearing 67, then I heard 97. But
So 67 is what they have now, plus 26, takes them to 93.
93, okay.
Mhm. And if they get the next 129, that's 200
So
plus.
93 plus 120.
Correct.
Right.
So it theoretically could end up being the size of St. Joe's, would be
Was,
an
yep.
estimate. If the certificate of needs keep coming in and they keep getting awarded the beds that they need to become the tertiary center they hope to be. But, it's a process, it's not something that's gonna happen right away. They have 28 acres on this site. They have plenty of room to build a second building for the next 129 beds that we're talking about. So that's not an issue at all. And they do plan on continuing to apply for different certificate of needs as they come available. I know that Mayor Lawrence spoke for the certificate of need for the PET center, but that was denied for this hospital at this time. It did go to Novant. So it didn't go to our other friends down the street, but it did go to Novant.
You use the word friends
I'm trying
loosely.
I'm trying to be nice.
You're being nice.
I know there's a lot of concerns about traffic surrounding the hospital. There will be a traffic light off of 2570 at the entrance to the hospital with a turning lane in both directions off of 2570. They will also have auxiliary access off of Ollie Weaver. When the medical center building opens and the grounds are safe for patients to come to the medical office building, not because the building's up and ready, but when the grounds are ready to start accepting visitors to come or patients to come into the medical office building, they will most likely be accessing through Ollie Weaver to get to the site, because I think the construction site at that time will be off of 2570. So there will be two entrances off of Ollie Weaver. I mean, in case there's an accident at the main entrance of the hospital and you can't get through that way, there's another way to get in and out of the hospital grounds themselves. As far as traffic, yes, it will increase traffic in that area, but it won't be as bad as the traffic we're going to face going to Asheville once they start the I-26 project that's going to encompass the Jeff Bowen Bridge.
There won't be as much traffic as Lowe's and Walmart when Northridge,
That's exactly right.
Northfield, Northwoods, whatever that development, that's gonna be a nightmare.
That's exactly right. So I have been meeting with the CEO, Daniel Tryon, on a regular basis. They had a community meeting here this past week, so we were able to sit down and look at plans and ask questions about what services are going to be offered. And all of these fine-tuning things of what's going to be in the hospital as far as services, that's still in discussion with Madison County, Yancey County, and Weaverville. So we're still trying to determine what is the best service lines to offer. We know we're gonna have an ER, we know we're gonna have a neuro unit, we know we're gonna have a cath lab. So beyond that, we're talking about what are the needs of this area as far as patient types. We'll go in there. But it's very exciting for Weaverville to have this opportunity to better the health of our citizens and make it, you know, a quick response for us to get there, but more importantly, a quicker response for people that are north of us to have a safe place to get to.
I will say that these folks have been just a real joy to work with.
Absolutely.
They're as transparent as they can be. They've kept us involved and informed, and we're helping them out where we can. So just stay tuned. It's just good things to happen.
Thank you and Jennifer for standing in front of it. That's great information.
Thank you. It's a great report, thank you.
What's the name? Is it just to be Advent Health or Advent Weaverville?
I think it's Advent Health Weaverville, it's Advent Health Fletcher.
Okay.
They have several hospitals in the I-95 corridor. I would be surprised if they didn't look further up I-26 for, you know, other opportunities.
Sure.
The hospital is hoping to be open, if all things go well, in 2028. That's just 2 years, guys.
Yeah, I will say that this is not their first rodeo.
They call it a run down South Park Ridge, we should name this one Dry Ridge.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. That was outstanding. Appreciate it. I see it's my turn here. I came across this, I think Assistant Town Manager Jackson brought this to my attention from a government in Albemarle County, Virginia, which is my backyard. It's where I grew up. And I took a look at it and said, you know, there's a lot of really good stuff in this document that we should publish so that everybody kind of knows what the rules of the road are of how we want to run town council and get our business done. So with that, we created this document for the town of Weaverville, which are operating guidelines for high-quality governance. And I really don't want to sit here and read the bullet points to you. They're documents ready we can share with everybody. But what I'd ask is that all of the town council members take a second, read it. I'm open to comments of anything you'd like to change, but it kind of does streamline the flow of data throughout the town, and I think it'll make a difference on how we get things done. So I'd appreciate, eventually I'll be asking for everybody's signature on it, just to make sure we're all on the same, literally on the same page. But take a look at it. It's worth the 5 minutes of your time it'll take to read.
Thank you for putting this together.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to do it. Manager Harris.
Mayor, Council, we are in our budget workshop sessions now as far as departmental submittal budgets. I received those on the 16th and have started reviewing those. And we'll be meeting with the department heads to kind of fine tune those in our budget workshop session. For the first one's scheduled for March the 9th. So just asking for some guidance and some feedback on what some priorities are for council, be it staffing, be it salaries, be it capital equipment, or as growth, as you mentioned, growth is coming. So just trying to get some insight on what council's priorities are in accordance with the strategic plan, so that as I formulate a plan to be able to present to you, that they align with your priorities. I'd be glad to take any, as y'all have some discussion, I'll take some notes to try to help convey some of that.
Scotty, question. I think we now have 9 new real estate developments that are either planned, approved, or in progress. And I'm wondering if you can keep us up to date in terms of when those developers are, planning to open the gates and basically offer units for sale. It looks like right now, with the last 2 water supply improvements we'll probably have over 1,000 new units coming into Weaverville, and if we could somehow put those on a timeline so that council is aware of, when are we gonna start seeing,
For budget purposes.
yeah. When are we gonna start seeing, a significant uptick in new residents? I think it would help all of us keep things in context with respect to planning.
And that's some of the challenges itself, is to trying to match growth with revenue on that return of when people start occupying that. But as you saw in your water commitment approvals tonight, I mean, some of them were, and this is not the first time it's come before council, but some of them are a year or two old, and they're coming back asking for renewal. So as far as trying to project out when you breaking ground or when sticks are going to be up and doors are going to be there, that's a challenging part. I mean, I know the Northridge Farm subdivision out behind Walmart, I know they're working diligently because I get calls regularly about their equipment still using the DOT roadway there. So, I mean, I know that, and they're still waiting on a permit to be able to put the culvert in, to be able to move some traffic off of that roadway. So, I mean, that's probably one of our fastest going up developments right now that I'm tracking on. So, I mean, but as far as the others, I mean, that timeline is, as we've seen water commitments get pushed further and further out, and for renewals, it's hard to say when there's going to be, sticks in the ground with doors and people occupying it right now. So, but like I said, I mean, I'll be glad to keep you abreast on that as we talk with developers and kind of get better timelines.
Super, thank you.
Fire report? Fire Chief Briscoe.
Mayor Lawrence, Town Council, it's a pleasure and an honor to be before you this evening to give the quarterly report. Just real quick, it shouldn't take more than 3 hours to go over. I'm sure you got plenty of time. No, it taken me about 2 minutes. Real quick, if you can, do you have the report in front of you? Good. You can see that in January, Kyle Davis, which is our fire marshal, is a little lack in January on his inspections. The reason being is ISO inspection for the fire department was done on the 16th of February. This is, right now we're rated as a Class 2 fire department, which it goes from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, 1 being the best. We are a Class 2 here in the city of Weaverville, which is very good, and I'm very proud of them. If you have any other questions about the major incidents, you can see that I'm not very computer savvy. The total loss and the total pre-incident values are 0. If you look at those, we didn't have a structure fire in that time, but if we do show anything, I apologize for that. The Buncombe County and town is about 50-50, North Buncombe. And the overlapping calls were 110. That means, overlapping means that we had 2 calls at once. 1 call while we're out on another call. And that does happen, I'm afraid. Any questions, comments, or ugly remarks? Very good. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for being here.
I'll be here till the 31st of March. And as Mr. Harris has said, he will have a new fire chief.
You're not gonna give him a choice, you're telling him you got a deadline.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, Mr.
Chief Oberlin. Good to see you.
Hi, good evening. I'm short, I'm gonna move this. I'm also loud. So on the first page here, we have the quarterly report. There you go. Numbers are pretty average there until you get to January and you say, holy smokes, y'all had time on your hands. But actually we had 2 significant winter weather events in January that really slowed down people coming out. Thankfully, right, we asked them to stay in and they did. So not as many wrecks. On the next page, I thought it was interesting statistic to add there on the bottom that of the combined, in the citations and warnings, that's 313 of those combined through November, December, and January. But I think we're doing a nice job of getting compliance through education, with our warnings being at 113 out of those. So that's not a heavy-handed group of officers. They're trying to teach people and see if we can get compliance through warnings. On the next page I compared, I know it feels like 2025 is long since gone, but you haven't heard from me since October. So I did do a little comparison for you. The increase between 2024 and 2025 is an 11% increase in total activities. You will see that some numbers have gone down. For instance, that theft and shoplifting went down. And that is largely due in part to Walmart learning to take some of their own misdemeanor charges. If they can identify who it was that trespassed because they trespassed them, they are welcome to go to the magistrate on their own. And so they have been offloading some of those smaller misdemeanor larcenies and other cases that they're familiar with. And the one big one there, fraud, where it increased from 9 to 27. That's multi-layered there. That's a big jump, but we're getting folks that are more crafty about stealing our money on the internet and compelling people to give up their life savings. But also we changed our reporting mechanism. A lot of times the banks did not want to, because the banks become the victim, right? And the banks did not want to participate in a report. But it is not appropriate reporting of us if we are not taking a report for someone actually having been swindled out of money. So we are taking those reports, and the folks are working with the Federal Trade Commission to report those. On to training and professional development. You can see there, it was a little slower. Not as many people go to training in December when they're on family vacations. School's not open as much. But I did want to point out that last week I had 1 sergeant and 1 senior officer receive their advanced certification, which is a combination of a high volume of hours of training and years of experience, all specifically in police work. Activities of interest. I don't know how they compelled me to be the guest speaker at BLET. I said, no thank you, and they said, what I hear is you'll think about it. And so there I am. But I did want to thank you. That is our 2nd student that went through BLET, and we moved to having a paid program for that, which has made it much easier to get young officers and pay them to go to school. Most people cannot afford to go to school and not make a living while they do that. So that.
What does that cost to go through that program?
Well, we pay them I can't tell you exactly.
Like if you were a student going through the program, do you have a ballpark of what they have to
The
pay?
schooling itself is free. It's the books and the equipment that they need to go through and uniforms. And then obviously they said it's a 50 to 60 hours a week commitment, and so most people can't work. So I guess it's like a cost of your time, and then the books are a couple $100, maybe $1,000. Uniforms we're spending about $1,000. And as far as, if you're curious, trainees are 2 levels lower than the job that they're training for on the pay scale. So if you were to look at the police officer on the pay scale and go 2 levels below that, that's what trainees go.
So when they're going through that, you're telling, it's a 50 to 60 hour week?
Yes.
For how long?
It just increased, it's 6 months.
So if they want to be a police officer, they got to have some other sort of support to help them. Like I think Peter just said, you know, how do you work? How do you go to school for that much time and then?
You don't. That's why prior to now, it was very difficult for us to get rookies to recruit someone that was not already a law enforcement officer. And one of the things that your predecessors asked us to do was to not snipe people from other agencies, not get only lateral transfers, but it was very difficult to get someone to go to school if we weren't paying them to go.
So I'm still trying to, so two things I'm trying to get to is one, just like Cop for Kids, is there a way the town or private industry could be involved in helping fund some of that? And set up some sort of
Scholarship.
that's potentially, so I'm trying to get my head around, what does it cost for that? You know, I don't know what the town's paying, if you know that off the top of your head, but what kind of money is needed to be raised?
So the school itself doesn't cost anything.
Right.
It's just the equipment and the books and things that they have to pay for.
Well, that's
but it's
easy,
the-
but.
Right, but it's the loss of income.
Correct.
That they face, that's
Right,
the biggest
so
challenge.
it was the salary.
Right.
I put them, the best way that we have figured it out is that I pay them on salary because their job is to pass school.
Sure.
And so we do a salary, that way if they have a snow day like today, we're not worried about, they had a late start, we're not worried about, oh my gosh, with the hours, that had nothing to do with them. But then on the long weeks, they're also not trying to come here and log their time when they're out at the range.
Right, so if
until
you got them
10
on
o'clock.
salary as basically an employee of the town?
Yes,
Right, so that we can't, private industry, I don't think can help with that,
right.
other than you know, in your budget, just raise my taxes.
Just care about the books and the equipment.
Yeah, that's trying.
And uniforms. Yeah, but those are all relatively already low cost,
So
give or
they-
take.
So Chief Oberlin, once they finish school,
Yes.
how long does it take before they are out on the road independent?
We have a field training program that if they are brand new rookies, takes the better part of about 6 months before they're confident and they've passed all 16 units of training and show proficiency. I would not recommend that they be left alone unsupervised, even when they go out in the car by themselves. There's just no way to train for all of the circumstances that
Exactly.
come up. You think that you know until you go to your first call. Mine was a wreck where a woman like compound fractured her leg, and I've been working fender bender, grocery cart wrecks, right? So you think you know till you get there, and then you're like bent over and hyperventilating behind your car somewhere, right? So they're just not ready for those kinds of things. Also, the recruits that we have, like this fellow just turned 21 last week. And I don't know if you've thought about the responsibilities of being an officer and being 21. Do any of you guys remember 21?
No.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I don't know that anybody should have gave me a gun, but they're very responsible young men, but they're still young and learning life experiences. So we're doing a lot of training with them. I would say until they're proficient and could be left in the town by themselves, 2 years.
Okay, I was thinking it would be probably a couple of years before they would be.
Right,
fairly
if you
independent.
were to do a poll of other chiefs, the standard is that most officers get good and comfortable by about year 5.
Okay.
That's a good point, though, because the hospital
Right.
is going to have an issue.
Right, the recruiting process can be very complicated as well when it comes to the hospital talk. We would have to recruit those people. The number that we've been talking about is 5 because they have asked for 24-hour coverage there. It's
That's a
actually
state law.
required by law. There is little asterisks by that law that says unless they decide they don't need you. But they have already announced that they will. They provide 24-hour law enforcement coverage in Hendersonville, and they will do the same here. So in order to do that, you have to have day and night, and then when those guys are off, day and night again. Guys or gals, folks. I'm from the north, we say guys for everybody, sorry. And then somebody to either fill in when they're at school or out sick or take a vacation or a supervisor role, ideally, that person is one and the same, the fill-in and a supervisor.
So we know the hospital's coming now, like we know that, right?
Right.
You guys aren't gonna backtrack on us.
Nope,
And you just said it takes 2 years.
Right.
so we need them now.
So we need to hire 5 new policemen.
Somebody does.
So
Will you,
it-
I would
don't
say-
you hire them?
I would
Well, I don't mean we as in
So,
me.
Right.
Mr. Nagel, it's a conversation with Advent to see what direction they want to go with their police staff coverage.
Okay.
If they want it like a moonlight position that anybody can come and sign up for a shift, or do they want a dedicated staff from Weaverville to come and serve? So that's still a conversation to have with Advent.
You don't need
Right,
to-
what you're seeing at Mission Hospital is that they use secondary employment coverage there, so they open it up, and the sheriff's office, when the sheriff's deputies are off, they could volunteer to go work in the hospital to get extra hours. They don't have enough staff to cover their own secondary requests, which is how our guys in Weaverville get a lot of secondary work, because they're trying to help fulfill Buncombe's requests. So we don't have the manpower to provide that kind of 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week coverage as only secondary coverage. And they asked if we could rely on surrounding agencies to do that, and largely the answer is no, because they cannot fulfill their own. Some of the other things I'd like you to think about, I didn't know that we would lean into this, but if you have a second, is what are your standards? I asked that of Councilwoman Young. I am transparent to you. I report to you what is happening, and you have come to expect a certain level of police care and attention and approach here in this town with community policing. And if we moonlight everybody in from other areas, that is not something that you have any control over.
That's correct.
But who gets to decide that? Advent Health or the town of Weaverville?
Well, I'm not trying to be coy. It's who wants to pay for it.
Sure, so they're
so-
not a taxpayer, we've
Right,
established that.
that's right. And that's what I'm saying is,
Right.
they're not a taxpayer, so if you're waiting for them to come online to get the money to pay, that's never gonna happen. So are you willing to pay? Are they willing to pay? They would otherwise be paying security, and did in Hendersonville, paid for a whole security force.
So do hospitals ever collaborate? So we go, we, the collective, Scotty go, no, we don't want moonlighters from Fairview coming up here. We want what's been worked on very hard and well established of we don't want to be the Woodfin police. We want to be the Weaverville police. So we want our police in that hospital. To your point, if we don't provide it, then they've got to hire. Has there ever been, or is it a norm? Then they go, well, they start writing some checks too, and we share in that cost.
I have had that
Councilwoman Young is
discussion.
talking.
Yeah, I have had that discussion with Dana Crown at Advent, so we're still in talks on that point. I know that other hospitals, like UNC Health is a good example, they have a police force that's their job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they work in the hospital solely. They don't patrol and, oh, this day you're going here. They have a staff that's their job. Wake Med does the same thing. And that's a model I think that Chief
Agreed.
Oberlin is looking at. And I'm encouraging for this to be the model at Advent.
As long as we can make separate patches that say Advent Health Weaverville Police Department, I'm in some, wait, that's a conflict of interest, isn't it?
Probably is.
Chief Oberlin, do you have a preference as
It's
to
below
how
the de minimis.
this is organized, or?
I do have a preference. I would like to see a specific hospital team that
Okay.
focuses
Okay.
on that. Think of how complicated it would be to navigate a hospital in a crisis if you've never been in it.
No, I can't.
Right, and
That's a great
so, or
suggestion.
I would like the supervisor of that team to be part of their risk management teams and those that can assess what's going on. Furthermore, violence in the emergency room is highly underreported.
Yes.
And we feel like if we could get some relationships going between the police staff and the hospital staff, that they'd be more likely to speak for themselves and have advocate on site to help them when they have any situations of violence. And violence in the emergency departments is on the rise, last counted at 33%. So I don't see that going down without some assistance.
And you would like some oversight with that hospital group, or, because they could function essentially as their own force, separate of Weaverville PD altogether?
Well, they could, but they're not their own city.
Right, right.
So they would still be under my oversight, from the best that I can tell. This is something very new. I don't know how an independent police force inside a hospital would work. Where do they get their authority from? Whose jurisdiction is what? Versus if you have a hospital in your jurisdiction and you are the law enforcement presence in there.
Maybe we need to take a field trip and go visit one of the hospitals that have that model and have a conversation with them to see how does this work for you and what challenges do you have. So I think that's worth a conversation that we can have offline.
Obviously, there are crimes that are reported from hospitals, things like domestic violence or any kind of sexual assaults, and having a staff member there already might help with streamlining that process as part of the intake.
Especially if they're trained in that particular area, which I'm sure they would be.
Correct. We can definitely tailor their education towards meeting the needs of the hospital, whether it be with extensive mental health care and crisis negotiations and, correct.
Are you currently staffed at the level you want for now, or are you understaffed?
Well, we are holding on right now. But at some point, if we don't grow, the level of service that you have come to know and love would have to diminish in some ways. A couple council meetings back, I produced, I think, 2 or 3 pages of the extra things that we provide to the community outside of just strictly going to calls. And those things I can't work people to death.
I think going forward, knowing that it takes 2 years to get a rookie on the street, we have to think now how we're gonna budget for this department to make sure that we think proactively ahead to get the officers and equipment and cars and whatever else she needs in place before, it's like, oh gosh, we've got 8 more house developments opening up and we have no more police officers to serve that area, so.
I think you're gonna need to get the hospital to have a play in that conversation as well.
Yes, I've already started that conversation with them.
To be clear, I'm grateful for what we have.
We're
grateful for you.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, so we'll finish up, like, y'all are long suffering back there, thanks. A couple of the activities of interest you saw there, I think I saw some folks at the Congressman Edwards staff visit and political demonstration at the community center. Would like to comment that a lot of those same people are the same folks that have the intent to picket permissions for Main Street on Thursdays. So the fact that we had established relationships with them was very helpful during that demonstration when Congressman Edwards' truck was there. And finally, on the last page, I wanted to let you know some good news. We have applied for accreditation through the International Association for Property and Evidence for our evidence room. And I just went through some steps. If you don't know what accreditation is, it's definitely a way to show the community that your evidence programs align with nationally recognized best practices. So Brenda is our evidence technician. She applied for that and went through the pre-assessment and got us ready. Our on-site review was Friday the 13th. They were very impressed with what we had and only had 2 small tweaks that they asked us to make, which we were able to make pretty well on the spot. We'll finish one of them by the end of this week, likely, but they don't have to come back to see that. They're taking our word that that tweak is in place. She said the review process will be completed within 30 days. Sorry about the misspelling there. And with that being said, she was very, very hopeful that there will be no hiccups in that review process and we'll get accredited. So that should, I hope, bring you an element of comfort. All of our evidence is 100% accounted for, but it is also meeting international standards for the way that an evidence room should be being maintained. Do you have any other questions?
Thank you for your hard work.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other business to come before council? Yes, sir.
Mayor, based on a recommendation from Councilmember Nagel, I assembled a list of our top employers in Weaverville, and with the object of having council take a look and self-nominate for a relationship establishment with those folks, and I wanted to get permission to circulate that to council.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
I'll take ABM.
I already
It's a
raised my
conflict of
hand for
interest,
that
isn't
one.
it?
We'll come see.
Yeah,
Is
okay.
there
Thank you,
anything
sir.
else? Oh, you're welcome. Anything else? Nothing else appears. We are adjourned.